Hey guys, welcome back. Orabomb here, bringing you another one of our live deck profiles. Today we are doing Rhyhorn Mill. This is one you guys are really excited about. Me, not so much. I'm not a big fan of, not so much playing mill decks. I think a good mill deck is fun to play, but this is not, I don't know. When I saw Rhyhorn, I was like, oh, it's really cool that it can mill 5, but I don't know if it's really good. But you guys really want to see me profile it, so we're going to go over what I got today. I worked really hard on this build, guys. I need you guys to know I worked really hard on making this build. So this build's gonna be a little bit wonky, but it's to keep things as consistent as possible as far as your setup goes and using Giovanni's over and over again. So before we end the video, don't forget to, that like button. We've been hanging out in our free time and dude, what can I say? What can I say? You guys are doing great. Hit that like button, subscribe, share, all that good jazz. Answer the comment question of the day being, do you like, what is your opinions on mill? Do you like playing mill? Do you hate playing against mill? What are your opinions? Let me know in the comments down below. We're just gonna get right into this. We're playing 4 Rhyhorns. We're only playing 4 because I want to lead with it, because we're only playing 3 of the Rhydons right here. But Rhydon is the name of the game in this card. Dirty work. If you play discard the top card of your opponent's deck. If you played Giovanni's Banishment during this turn, you may discard 4 more cards. So if you play Giovanni's, you can discard 5 cards out of your opponent's deck. It's pretty powerful. 5 cards is a lot of cards. Usually you get this rolling about mid to late game, because you're going to spend the beginning of your game just setting up your board, making sure you have everything set up and whatnot. So it's pretty powerful when it starts working. But beforehand, it's kind of that, because you only have 110 HP, right? So you don't actually have that much HP. So you will get knocked out a lot. Do keep that in mind. But that's why you don't really want to have, that's why you want to have multiple Rhyhorns on your bench, because if they ever do Guzma them early game, you can at least have more to fall back on, but we are playing 1 stretcher, but we only could fit in 1 stretcher. And then this is one deck where I want to play 4 Rhyhorns, but you'll see what I mean whenever we play the deck, why putting cards in this deck has been pretty difficult for me to do, especially considering the fact that you actually will be getting knocked out a lot more often than you think, which means you can only sack off 6 Pokemon before you lose the game. So you have to keep that in mind as you continuously set up your board. But Rhyhorn is your quote-unquote main attacker in this game, and we also play 2 Rhyperiors. We have De-Evolution Spray and we have Celebi, so we have ways to remove these Rhyperiors or attack with Rhyhorn's attack even if we are Rhyperior. But Rhyperior is just a little bit extra mill, toppling win. When this Pokemon when you play this Pokemon from your hand to evolve when your Pokemon during a turn, you may discard the top 3 cards of your opponent's deck. So it's another 3, 6, and then you could reuse these effects sometimes. So another way to mill off your opponent's deck. But that's gonna be the Rhyhorn line. 4, 3, 2. I guess it looks nice, right? As far as everything else goes, 2 Pikachus. The Pikachus don't matter. We're playing the 70 HP Pikachu because we're actually not playing Elm in this deck, because there's no Rhyhorn that's below 60 HP. Jirachi's not below 60 HP. Actually, most of the Pokemon in this deck are not below 60 HP, so there's really no point in playing Elm, although if they were below 60 HP, I would have loved to play Elm in this deck. Elm would have saved so much problems, but regardless, 2 Pikachus, 2 Raichus. That Evo Shock is just so important in this deck. As soon as I thought about ways of stopping my opponent from attacking me every turn, Evo Shock came into mind, and then it literally made this deck good. So I feel like if you're gonna play Rhyhorn, you need to play Evo Shock, which paralyzes your opponent when you evolve into Raichu. We're also playing Ditto, so it's another target. And we have De-Evolution Spray Z, the brand new card, which we'll go over in the item section, to help you reuse Raichu's effect. I was playing Celebi Prism, but I couldn't ever make room to play an energy or a counter game onto Celebi Prism to make it worth attacking with Celebi Prism. So I took out the Celebi Prism pretty quickly while testing this deck. I went through easily 20, 30, 40 games with this deck, just agonizing through this deck, man. Celebi Prism, I just found it didn't work. Maybe you can make it work. Maybe you could change up the strategy. And I kind of like Celebi Prism because when you're not attacking with Rhyhorn or Giovanni's Banishment, you can reuse the Rhyperiors and reuse the Evo Shocks. But I don't know. The cool thing about Celebi Prism though is that they can never knock it out, because usually they have to use Guzma to switch you. Unless they use Escape Rope Guzma, they usually cannot knock out your Celebi Prism, which means your Celebi Prism is safe even if they do Guzma around it. Unless they have Lycanroc as well. There's options to do it, but it's not as easy and very deck specific. Which Mill is a very deck specific. Mill is a very unique deck. You have to be playing against the right matchups to win. As you saw with that Vikavolt game, even though we got all the way to the end of the game and we were actually reusing Devo sprays, and we were actually using Rhyhorn's attack fairly consistently throughout the game. At the end of the day, it just wasn't enough. We were short because it takes a pretty good amount of time to set up right now. Maybe in the future we'll get better setup cards for this deck, but like during those games, it was actually pretty hard to set up your board. Setting up my board was easy. You guys saw me set up the board. You guys saw me actually relatively get good with the setup. It's just a matter of like, can you consistently pull off your strategy without your opponent knocking you out every turn? And maybe the Vikavolt a bad matchup because they can OHKO your dudes really easily. I played this deck against Retro and Charizard too, and same thing, like they can OHKO you too easily for it to really be that relevant. But if you were to play something like Malamar has a harder time knocking out your Rhyperiors if they want to attack the Rhyperior. They can still knock out your Rhyhorn, but Rhyperior is a little bit more difficult, right? And sure, they play switches, so they could probably get around the paralysis easier, but they have to go through their deck a lot more than Vikavolt did. As you saw, Vikavolt played one draw supporter pretty much each game. They only needed to play Lily one time. After that, they had Volkners, and they were just draw passing and things like that. They didn't need to do much because they knew they were going to take knockouts before they were going to deck out. So maybe Vikavolt's a really, really bad matchup. But I'm going over the deck for the game from last time, guys, so don't forget to check out yesterday's video if you haven't seen that already. It's the game between Vikavolt, the new Vikavolt, which I think is actually really strong, which we'll go over tomorrow, and this deck. But we're also playing 2 Jirachis because consistency is key. Jirachi really helps you out. As far as our 1-ups go, 1 Persian, because we are playing Ditto Prism. Now the Persian's actually pretty cool. Make 'em pay helps a lot in a lot of matchups. I wish I could abuse this card more often. Actually, unlike most other deck profiles, at the end of the video, I actually have a handful of cards here I want to go over that I wanted to play in the deck, and I'll actually have them out this time. So unlike most deck profiles, we'll go over these dudes for sure. The Persian has Make 'em Play. We already showed this off in the Persian GX match, but makes you look at your opponent's hand, choose all the cards, your opponent gets to keep only 4 cards, and you can discard the rest, and you get to choose, which is really big with Persian. So you can actually make them get rid of all their useful cards, if they're holding on to any Judges or Marshadows or Stretchers or anything like that. You can get rid of them and make them keep only the useless stuff. One Celebi, Shining Celebi, it means you can use the attacks of your previously evolved Pokemon. So if I have Rhyperior on top of Rhyhorn, I can still use Rhyhorn's attack. Pretty useful in case you can't ever devolve because you only play so many de-evolution ways. And then 1 Giratina, just to reuse it for Giovanni's Banishment. Now, we're not playing Diglett in this deck. If you guys don't know, the new Diglett is whenever you get rid of it with Giovanni's Banishment. What's it called? Your opponent discards the top card of your deck. Overall, as cool as it is, it's only 1 card. It's really not that game-breaking, and it's too many slots in the deck, and it's a horrible lead, and it doesn't recycle itself like Giratina does. So obviously, I decided just to take it out. Put in the Giratina for more consistency options. That's gonna be the Pokemon, guys. Quite a few Pokemon, actually. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 14, 17, 19 Pokemon. So Pokemon communications is pretty live in this game, especially considering the fact that we're constantly putting in our evolutions. It also makes cards like Great Ball live and stuff like that. So if you ever want to consider playing those cards in higher numbers, let me know. Let's go over the supporters first. Of course, Giovanni's Banishment. You may take an undamaged Pokemon and discard it from your bench. So, like I said, use Giratina, put it back in the discard pile with Giovanni's Banishment. That activates the effects of Rhyhorn's attack. Everything else is consistency. 4 Cynthia and 2 Tate and Liza. Lily doesn't work. We have too many cards in our hand. Against most decks, they're not going to play too many Pokemon, so Erica doesn't work. I'm trying to think about the other cards. Copycat. I mean, we could technically play Copycat in here because they will have a big hand. That actually, I might replace the Tate and Liza with Copycat. Actually, that's not a bad idea because they're going to have a big hand. Why didn't I think about that? All right, probably Copycat over Tate and Liza. Because they're going to be holding on to a bunch of resources so they don't deck out and they're eventually going to judge, right? So if you play, maybe replace 1 Tate and Liza with 1 Copycat and then you could save it for like a big turn. That could be pretty good. But I really like the Apricorn Maker because we're playing so many Ball Search cards in this deck that I feel like the Apricorn Maker is a must, especially since it helps you with your consistency. You could play Pokemon Fan Club, but Apricorn Maker means you're able to grab things like Tyrant Ball as well. So that's why I like the Apricorn Maker more than I like the Fan Club. But that's it for the supporters. Let's go over the trainers. For Pokegear, let's you look at the top 7 cards of your deck and add a supporter that you find there into your hand. And then as far as the new card go, De-Evolution Spray Z. Choose one of your opponent. Choose one of your evolved Pokemon in play. Oh, this is weird because it's got the shadow from the thing. Let's try that. There you go. And shuffle as many evolution cards from that Pokemon as you like from into your deck. I'm so bad at reading today because I can't really see it because it's awkwardly. I'm trying to. My camera's above me because I'm using my phone. Anyways, this is really cool, especially in decks like Greninja. Greninja could take the most advantage of this because you can put the Frogadiers back in your deck too, so you can reuse the Frogadiers. But this, you can devolve and then put things back into your deck. Not as, oh, I don't know why I'm packing up. It's not as good as De-Evolution Spray was, but unlike De-Evolution Spray, you can actually revolve that Pokemon because De-Evolution Spray specifically says that you can't evolve the Pokemon you devolve, but De-Evolution Spray Z doesn't say that, which means if I were to like devolve a Raichu and have another Raichu in my hand, I could just I could evolve that Pikachu right back into a Raichu again, which is actually kind of cool. 4 Nest Balls, consistency stuff, get your Pokemon out. The most important part of this deck is setting up your board with all the Pokemon. And 4 Timer Balls. Because we're constantly shuffling back in our evolution pieces, Timer Balls almost live throughout the entire game. And as far as our 1-ups go, actually we have a couple 2-ups as well. 2 Computer Search, because we have a lot of Pokemon. We can always use Timer Ball and then shuffle back in one of the Pokemon we find there for a basic or something. 2 Counter Catcher, because we're never taking prizes. That's not necessarily true. We can take prizes. We just haven't yet. And let's see. 2 Escape Boards. Let's see if I can make this higher while avoiding the glare. It looks like we can. 2 Escape Boards, because Jirachi. I guess that's really it. Having free retreats nice as well. 1 Rescue Stretcher and 1 Pal Pad to reuse our supporters. And as far as the energies go, here's where things get controversial, right? This is something I really want to change as well. I'm talking about all these different changes I can make, guys. I want you guys to try out this deck and let me know what you think about it, what you've done to make it more consistent. 4 DCEs and 1 Counter Energy. Now, Counter Energy is live throughout the game because you're almost never taking prizes. But with Counter Energy, you can take prizes, which is something I wish I tried to abuse more. And I wish I was like, because I only thought about this near the end of the recording, and I didn't want to re-record because we have a lot of stuff that we have to do during spring break. I'm recording all of this during spring break, by the way, guys, because I don't have time during the school semester to record as much as I used to, because I'm working and there's so much schoolwork to do. But I didn't have time to re-record, but being able to attack the Vikavolt would have been super strong. I mean, this thing hits for 170. It doesn't affect weakness or resistance, and you can't attack during your next turn, which is kind of annoying. But even if you wanted to, if you have the Shining Celebi in play, you could use Horn Attack and hit for weakness, which is kind of cool. So against Vikavolt, you actually had options to take Okos. So I wish I had more counter energies in here. 5 energies seem to be doing the job though, because we have ways to mill anyways with Rhyperior, and just making them draw pass a bunch is really strong too. And then make them pay can disrupt them from using the judges and stuff like that. But that's gonna be the deck, guys. As far as other cards I want to play, I mentioned it already. Counter energies, counter gain, Celebi Prism. I guess more important cards, definitely more Rescue Stretcher. 2 or 3 Rescue Stretcher could be nice. A Meowth to be able to consistently get the Persian out, because Persian's super strong. Obviously Ultra Balls, because we are playing Apricorn Maker. Ultra Ball could be good. The problem is I've never wanted to discard anything in my hand ever when playing this deck. Only if like things are prized, like oh my Meowth is my Ditto's prize, which happened to me in that last game. I don't want to have to get my Persian to not be able to use it anymore, so I could discard the Persian. And then there's Gladion, because Gladion could give you specific things out of the prices, which is nice. I would like to play 2 Gladions, maybe 1 or 2 extra Stretcher, a Meowth for the 20th Pokemon, some Ultra Balls for more consistency, but I think Ultra Ball would be the one card I don't really care about. Celebi Prism could be good, like I mentioned earlier. Counter Energies could be good, but just the fact of the matter is, it's hard to play all those cards whenever your strategy revolves around using Giovanni's banishment. It's just to be completely real with you guys, because you want to make sure that you have your consistency set up. You can't let your opponent ever knock you out, and they will be able to knock you out. Too many cards in this format hit too high of a number for that 170 HP or whatever HP your Rhyperior has actually matters anymore. Yeah, 160 HP is not even that high. So like, you can't do any Ace Roller shenanigans. You can't really do Super Scoop Up shenanigans. There's a lot of things you just can't do in this deck, and it's just the unfortunate part. But like against the right matchups, like I'm assuming against Malamar, it's easy pickings because they have to set up their Inkays. You have lots of counter gain targets. They only have so many ways to switch. Make them pay could be really powerful if they ever have too many cards in their hand. And you can maybe even use Giratina enough to take Inkay Malamar knockouts, like lower HP knockouts. That's something to keep in mind as well, because you will be using Giratina a lot that game anyways. That's another thing I wanted to do, was because of how often I wanted to use Giratina, I figured maybe if I played 2, since Giovanni can discard up to 2 Pokemon, I could probably even take knockouts throughout the game. But I decided against that because, first of all, you never have bench space to play 2, and 2 would only be for prizing. And if we are prized, we just discard some Pokemon, I guess. And because we're only going to use Giovanni's management 4 times in that case. Against a lot of setup decks, you could probably win pretty convincingly, as long as you can set up yourself. But against a lot of other decks that are just like against welder decks, right? Welder decks don't need much. They just get energies, attach, and attack over and over and over again until they win, right? So it's kind of like, it's really strong, but against the right matchups. Overall though, the deck's okay. I definitely think it's worth trying out if you want to have fun with Mill. Otherwise, I'd play something else personally. But let me know in the comments down below what you think. I guess it's not exactly professional for me to be recommending to not play the deck I'm profiling, but it's okay. I'm honest with you guys. I like to keep it real. And I'm doing this because you guys want to see this deck profile. But Vikavolt is a really cool deck that I can't wait to show you guys tomorrow. So don't forget to come back tomorrow to see the Vikavolt profile. Don't forget to drop a like, subscribe, share, all that good jazz. And I'll see you guys next time with another live deck profile. Peace.